Hey there, Blazer fans, and welcome to episode 31 of the Dragon's Den, a podcast for those that bleed green and gold. Today, I have one of the all-time greats in UAB basketball, Mr. Aaron Johnson. Aaron and I dive into a lot of his big game moments, which he had a lot of. So let's go ahead and get into the episode. Be sure to stick around until the end for another This Week in Blazer History segment. Thanks for listening. All right, Blazer fans, I've got my guest here for episode 31 of the Dragon's Den. He is a former basketball guard for the men's team and from 2007 to 2011 from Chicago, Illinois. It's Mr. Aaron Johnson. Aaron, how you doing tonight, man?
All good, man. Pleasure to be a part of the den, the Dragon's Den, man. Happy to share some good and funny stories, hopefully.
Well, that's awesome, man. I know I'm thrilled to have you on. It's, you've been a huge part of UAB history and everything, and even more in recent history, you've you got your jersey retired and everything, and you've been around campus, so it's awesome to finally have you on, and I'm ready to kind of get to know you a little bit better.
Well, yeah, let's do it.
Well, you played, just kind of give you a little bit of, or give my listeners a little bit of background. You played high school basketball at Hubbard High School, where you were a four-year starter in Chicago. You were also rated one of the top 25 players in the state of Illinois, according to Rivals.com, out of high school. Blazer fans know you while you were at UAB, but what was your life like before you came to UAB, playing basketball in Chicago and being named one of the best players in Illinois coming out of high school?
Man, it was great, man. Being able in Chicago when I was younger, just being able to go around the inner city and be able to go to these different parks and these different neighborhoods and these different schools, and people whisper, "Hey, that's him, that's the guy." Like that was, just having what we used to call like being hood famous, you know what I mean? Before, being the famous. That was like everything to a kid, 14, 13, 12, just going around park to park, being picked first when you playing outside, and like that type of stuff was just everything. So as I was just growing up, and I started to pay attention to rankings and all that stuff, man, to see my name always consistently in all these rankings, man, I was just like, all right, I'm doing something good. I know I'm good, you know what I mean? But I never let it, get to me too much, because I knew that I still had work to do. I knew it was a lot of players that I had been playing against my whole life. Jacob Pullen, Derrick Rose, Michael Thompson, is a list of dudes that I just wanted to make sure that I was still with as I got older and older and older.
Well, so what schools were recruiting you, and what made you choose UAB?
My top schools that I was choosing from really was UAB, of course, Arizona State, and Wisconsin Green Bay. Marquette had came in late in my recruiting, and Iowa State came in real late and offered me, but by that time I kind of had my mind made up. But yeah, I chose UAB because at the time, assistant coach from Chicago was here, Tracy Dildy, who is a legend in Chicago. He came and found me playing AAU, and he came to games during my season. He came through there the in-home visit, and then of course me knowing who Mike Davis was and where he had been before he got to UAB, seeing him on national television a lot, seeing him in the NCAA tournament, going to the national championship game. So those two factors was really the main push for me, because a lot of people don't know, I committed before I came on a visit to UAB, which people don't do, you know what I mean? Mm. So, but when I came on my visit and I saw the city, I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. A city boy coming south, a lot of people would think, oh man, Alabama is going to be country, and you know what I mean? But when I came and saw Birmingham, I was like, this is a slower Chicago. You know what I mean? It is going to allow me to just be me and concentrate on what I need to concentrate on to be successful. So, once I saw UAB, I knew UAB was the perfect place.
That's awesome. Your first year at UAB in 2007, 2008, you started 26 of the 34 games, and you ranked 6th in conference in assists per game as a freshman. I mean, UAB started the year 7-3 and went to Louisville to face the Kentucky Wildcats. You had a solid game with 8 points and 8 assists. What do you remember from this game specifically?
Man, I just remember us at halftime being so disappointed that we wasn't winning at halftime. You know what I mean? Like we knew we were the better team that year. Like we thought that this was one of Kentucky's like bottom teams that from their past, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
we really, really felt like we were better than them. So going in at halftime down, we were just like, how is this possible? You know? And then Coach Davis came in at halftime, and anybody who knows Coach Davis, he's fiery. You know, he's always, fiery, and he seems like he's always mad, but he's just super passionate. So he came in at halftime opposite of what he normally used to be. Like he came in like, guys, we are better than them. Like you guys are playing like they're the inferior opponent, and we really are. And when he said that to us, that second half, we just started to play better. Robert Vaden, of course, had the greatest half I've ever seen from a player in my life. So, and we just pushed behind him. And I can't forget about Walter Sharp. Walter Sharp had 14 and 8 in that game. And I just remember being on knowing I was on national television, because I think that was my very first one. And I was happy to be there, but I wanted to make sure that I left a mark on that game. And, after I got out, after we won, I went back to my phone and I saw all the calls and text messages like, bro, we can't believe we seeing you on national television, bro. You ain't got no turnover. I think I had 2 turnovers, 8 assists. They like, bro, you did great, bro. So, I mean, that was just a special time. So that was, but the biggest thing I remember, of course, Vaden doing what he did, and, us at halftime feeling like, we letting ourselves down because we were the better team.
Well, personally, I've got to say thank you for that win, because that was my family and I went on a birthday trip for me. That was the day after my birthday, and that was a heck of a nice birthday present. So, but man, that game was one of my all-time favorites. But
running out, playing at Louisville and running out and seeing all that blue inside of red. I was like, this is unbelievable. This is a crazy fan base, man. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, fast forward to later in the year, you guys faced number 1 Memphis at home, and you were challenged facing Derrick Rose. What was that game like?
Man, that was by far the most craziest energy game I've ever been a part, by far, because that whole week had been, a camp out. We fed the people that camped out. We did a lot of stuff leading up to the game, and then knowing that I was going against somebody who was a real friend, you know what I mean, and still is like a real person that I know, I kick it with, I used to be around a lot, and him being who he was, you know what I mean, like it was so much energy, just like the excitement, the build up of that game was unbelievable. And I'll never forget that's the loudest I've ever heard Bartow when we ran out the tunnel to start the warm up. The last time we ran out, man, the gym erupted. I could not believe it. I was super, super excited. And I also remember Robert Vaden just being calm. You know what I mean? Like he was excited, but he had this calmness to him that I asked him, like, how could you be like this calm? We're about to play the number 1 team in the country right now. Like, he's like, it's just another game. Hey, let's just go out here and play. And, starting that game out, we started that game out smoking hot. The crowd was into it. Vaden made the shot right before the half. We ran. It was just unbelievable. But the biggest thing I remember, and I will stand on this, if I never fall out, we win that game. I got a picture that was in the Kaleidoscope, the UAB newspaper, of me with my hands on my head looking up at the shot clock, and because I had fouled out right before that, and I was just like, I don't know if we're gonna win this game when I went to the bench, because I was just playing so well. I was guarding Derrick Rose. He was 2 for 10 maybe at that point. And we were about to beat the number 1 team in the country. We were up 9 points with 1 minute and 32 seconds left in that game and lost, not in overtime, in regulation. So, but yeah, the excitement and the build up to that game is what I really like. remember most, man. That was a great week.
Well, you followed the tough loss to Memphis with a big performance against Houston in the following game, and this included a game-winning bucket with 2 seconds left to go to win the game 101-99. Take us through that shot.
Man, I couldn't even believe that I was the one who was even put in that position. We had got to stop, and then they called timeout right away. And we were coming to the bench, and soon when we sat down, we all confident, we just chilling. Coach Davis come in, he said, "All right, AJ, we gonna put the ball in your hands." And I look like, all right. And I'm like, oh, okay, what are we doing? So he's like, "I want you to come down, fake it to Vaden, and go make a play." And I was like, we're faking the best player on the team. He's the decoy, and I got to do something with the ball at this point. So when I faked it, I saw the lane just wide open. And then I remember Houston at the time had this big 7-footer, man, can jump, almost touch the top of the backboard. And I just knew once I faked it that I had to get it up over him. You know what I mean? So, that was the biggest moment of my career at that point. And, I was ready for that moment because that shot that I shot, I had worked on it every day in practice. Like that was kind of like my warm-up routine for practice. And I got to give credit to Coach Dusty May, who's at FAU now. And he's like, I still talk to him. We still send each other messages. He made me work on that floater shot every day in practice consistently, every day. That was our warm-up routine. I probably shoot 50, 60 of those before practice starts. So, when it left my hand, I knew it felt good. It looked good. And, but that was definitely the biggest, the thing that I remember most is making that shot.
Well, UAB finished the year with a first-round loss in the Conference USA tournament, but made the NIT, defeating VCU on the road before falling to Virginia Tech. What did you feel you learned the most from your freshman year?
I learned how hard it is during the season. I learned how to balance life with being a good basketball player. A lot of people don't know my first semester of college was really bad. Like books wise, like I had passed just enough to stay eligible for the second semester. And it was because I didn't understand how to balance life and ball at the time. So on the court, what I really learned is that the season is so up and down. You can be, and to start the year off, I was on a high. I was looking good. I was running the offense. I was doing everything the coaches asked me, playing good defense. And then I hit a freshman wall, they call it all the time, where I crashed. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't do nothing right. It felt like everything I was doing was wrong. And that's why I only started 27 games that year. Well, not only, but that's why I started 27 games. Because I felt like if I never really crashed and hit that wall, that I would have started every game. But, and you live and you learn. You learn, and I learned how to work my way out of, when I'm struggling or when I'm down. And I learned how to watch film.
Yeah.
At that point, I never knew what watching film was. I used to watch basketball and study it. I was never, when it came to basketball, I was never a fan of it. I always studied, people, the Isaiah Thomases, Chris Pauls, and all these people. But like to watch yourself and be critical of yourself, that was tough to do. So, I had learned all that in that year, and work ethic. I watched Robert Vaden work his tail off every day, man. That was by far the hardest working dude I've seen in my life. So I learned how to, have a work ethic and balance, life and try to be a great basketball player.
So your sophomore season, UAB was stacked with seniors, like you mentioned, Robert Vaden, Paul Delaney, Lawrence Kennard, Channing Tony, Mike Davis Jr., and Ed Barrios. All those guys, a senior-led team. You started the year, you started 17 of the 34 games you played in. Having a veteran group helped in a hot start to the season, which, the year basically started with the NIT season tip-off. You got wins over Arizona on the road and Old Dominion, which sent you to Madison Square Garden to face Blake Griffin and Oklahoma and also Boston College. I mean, I know that's kind of a long lead in, but take my listeners through that NIT run.
No, you got to put that lead in there, man. I mean, and another win that was at the time that people don't really talk about much is beating Santa Clara at the time, because Santa Clara was really good. And I think they was in the West Coast Conference or somewhere like that. So they were really good that year too. They had a big fella, John Bryant. But that preseason NIT was tough, man. Arizona, Chase Bullinger, the big fella Jordan, I forget his first name. He had 20 and 20 on us. Chase Bullinger had 27 on us, but we were such a veteran group. You know what I mean? We had that game. I was starting. I was the sophomore, but we had 5 seniors, 4 other seniors starting. So like, we were so confident, man. Like, we had Robert Vaden, first team all conference, All American. Lawrence Kennard, third team. Paul Delaney coming back from being first team. You know what I mean? We were so confident as a group that we didn't care. When we heard Chase Budinger name, we like, oh, they got Chase Budinger, we got Robert Vaden. You know what I mean? Like, we felt like everybody we played against, when it was a bigger name, we had a bigger name to match. You know what I mean? So going into that game, we were too confident for them to beat us. Even if we went into overtime, we were just too confident, we felt like. And then Old Dominion, we didn't even think that they were. We went down there and kind of won pretty easily. We didn't even think that they could match with us. And then when we got to Madison Square Garden, man, my view of that gym was so big, and like, you know, because people talk about it's the Mecca, you know. So I was more excited to be in New York City at the Mecca. And when I got in there, I was like, this gym is old. Like, you know what I mean? It didn't give me any type of feel that make, you know, you go to some gyms, it's like, man, this is really an NBA gym. It's nervous. It didn't give us any feel like that. So we went in there confident, like, all right, we got Blake Griffin first, but all right, they got Blake Griffin. We know he can play. We know how good he is. But what about the other cast? You know what I mean? So we were going to challenge the other cast. And granted to the other cast, like, his supporting cast really helped him win that game. You know, what was crazy about that game is Blake had 28 and 15. And at that time, that was Blake Griffin's lowest rebounding game of the season at that time. And I was like, oh my God, man. But, you know, we were disappointed. We were winning that game. And then Tony Crocker and Cade Davis, I think his name was, they had started making shots after shots after shots and helped them win that game. And then playing Boston College, we knew we can beat Boston College, but we were down Paul. Paul had an ankle injury against Oklahoma, so Paul didn't play. And so Coach Marsh was like, you know, you got a tough assignment in guarding that point guard at the time, Tyrese Rice. And I watched film on him for 2 days straight, man, trying to learn everything that he was good and wasn't good at. And that first half, great. We came out smoking. Lawrence was on fire. Baden was on fire. Terrence Roderick was playing well. I was playing good defensively. And that second half, Tyrese Rice just showed how good he was. You know what I mean? He had 24 in the second half. So, but that experience of just playing in that preseason NIT really, I mean, it was like we belonged more than anything. Like, we felt like we were supposed to be there. We didn't feel like the teams that was there was ahead of us, any more ahead of us, you know what I mean? And then, you know, Purdue was there. So, you know, we just felt like we belonged. We was a veteran group. We knew we was good. We had good players, and, you know, we just wanted to go out there and prove that we could belong with all the best of the teams.
UAB finished that year 21 and 10, falling in the second round of the Conference USA tournament. You guys made the NIT again, but you lost to Notre Dame on the road. Your junior season is really when you stepped in the spotlight. You earned a spot on the Conference USA third team and all defensive team. Despite losing a talented group of seniors, UAB got a good group of transfers in that included like Elijah Millsap, Jamar Sanders, George Drake, and Kenneth Cooper. UAB started the season 11-1 with 2 wins over top 25 teams that included number 25 Cincinnati and number 20 Butler at home. In the Butler game, you had your first career double-double with 12 points and 10 rebounds along with 5 assists. What was that game like going up against future NBA player Gordon Hayward.
We were super confident, and in a sense we were a little cocky. You know what I mean? By the time we got to Butler, we felt like we were so good that we can beat anybody, and nobody was ever gonna just outplay us, because that group, my junior year, that group of players, that was the closest group of players that I played with at UAB. We used to go to breakfast. We have preseason conditioning at 6 a.m. After the 6 a.m. run, we would go to breakfast together as a team. Some people would spot some people for meals. We were so close. We did everything together. We went to eat together. Like, when you saw us, you saw at least 5-6 guys, if not everybody, together all the time. So we relied on being close, and we were so tough. When I say tough, I mean we were trying to punk other teams. Like, we knew we wasn't that good half court, because we didn't have much shooting other than me and Jamar, really. So we went to crash the offensive rebounds and stuff like that. So we were such a tough team that we felt like we could beat anybody. And going into that Butler game, we knew we can beat them. It was just sticking to the game plan and putting them in uncomfortable situations. And I felt like we did that all night. Elijah Millsap, people don't talk about him enough to me and UAB's history just because he played that 1 year. But I know he led us in steals with like 2.3 a game. And, he was a 3 for us, and he averaged 9 rebounds a game, and he guarded the best players. He averaged 16 points a game for us. So like, we had him on Gordon. We had Jamar, who's really good defensively, and me going back and forth to Shelvin Mack. So, you know what I mean? We made it tough for them. Gordon and Mack had okay games, but they shot a lot of shots, a lot of tough shots. You know what I mean? We had scouted them so beautifully. Coach Morris scouted them so beautifully, and we were just gonna rely on being tough, put everybody in uncomfortable situations that they wouldn't be able to be in. They did a lot of down screens and back screens and stagger screens and elevator screens. We had to be really, really on point. And that was, we beat them pretty, not, I'm gonna say we beat them easy, but it was a convincing win. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a sneak out win. We beat them convincingly, and I didn't even know I had 10 rebounds that game. Like, to hear that was my first double-double it's really interesting. I didn't even know after the game, Coach Davis said, "So you a rebounder now?" And I was like, "Huh?" He was like, "You had 10 rebounds." And I was like, "Oh man." So, and I had hit one of the big, that was when, like, I had hit a big shot that game, a big 3-point shot to kind of open the lead up for us. So we were so tough and so confident, man. We were a little cocky. So, we just felt like we could beat them, and we just had to go out there and prove it. Plus, we were at home. I think it was 7,000 people at the gym. Wasn't nobody going to beat us in Bartow. That's how we always felt.
Well, fast forward a few weeks, UAB is in a tight game against a scrappy Southern Miss team. Many of us remember that outcome, but I was hoping you could take my listeners through those final seconds.
Man, I remember that play we ran out of the timeout. We messed the play up. So the play was for Jamar. It was for like Jamar to come off like a kind of stagger screen, because they were playing a zone, and he was supposed to come off of like a little screen and something like that. And I almost traveled passing him the ball. Like, I was getting ready to pass it, and the ball slipped out my hand, and I had to step to get it, and then I passed it, and you could hear everybody go, "Oh!" Like the ref was about to call travel, but I fumbled the ball, so it wasn't a travel. And then, so we passed the ball back and forth for a while, and I'm like, we got to make a play now. So I just called for a ball screen, and the whole game they had been going under me on ball screens and daring me to shoot. So I practiced that jump shot up that whole year, like that whole summer. Matter of fact, because as soon as my sophomore year ended, Coach Davis called me in his office for he used to do weekly, not weekly, he used to do a end of season meeting and tell everybody what he wanted them to do, what he wanted them to be better at. And he told me, I want you to shoot the ball. I want you to get up a lot of shots this year. I want you to be a scorer as well as being able to be a pure point guard. So that pull-up jump shot, I have been working on that consistently throughout the summer, throughout that season, in practice, after practice, before practice. And, I felt comfortable shooting that. And when it left my hand, it just felt good. I ain't gonna say I knew it was going in, but it felt good. And, that was definitely that was the biggest shot of my career at that point, winning that game. Southern Miss, another thing people like to talk about the Memphis rivalry, but I believe the Southern Miss was our real rivals. You know what I mean? Every time we played them, it was a dogfight. I think we might have blew them out one time. You know what I mean? Like, they gave us everything every time we played them. And then R.L. Horton, who came in with me as like he was a freshman, I was a freshman. We was juniors now. We were both kind of big names in the conference. So, you know what I mean? Like those, we just, Southern Miss gave us all we had. I mean, all they had, and we always gave them the same.
Well, UAB got to 18-2, but tough losses in Conference USA play led to a 23-7 regular season finish. This also included a game where you broke your nose against UTEP. UTEP was a rough squad, but what happened in that moment?
Man, in that moment, Randy Culpepper, who's a good friend of mine, man, many battles with him. I used to love playing against Randy. He was going to set a cross screen for Derek Character, who's their big man at the time. And Kenneth Cooper was guarding him. Anybody who knows Kenneth Cooper, he's physical. Like he likes to bump and push and just, play tough. So when he went to set a screen, and I'm telling him, Coop, we used to call him Coop, screen. He just runs into Randy, like didn't even try to get around the screen. And I'm directly behind Randy. And bam, Randy come right in front of me. We both like the same height. So he come right in front of me, head at my nose, man. And I go down, and at first I didn't feel any pain or nothing. So, but I knew like, man, that hurt it, So I look at my hand, it's just a cup of blood, and then all I heard was, man, his nose leaking from one of the players on UTEP. So I go in the back, man, and Brian Cook, the trainer's back there, trying to stop the blood. The blood wouldn't stop for a while. And he finally got the bleeding to stop. And he said, man, I got to find something to just plug it in. We're going to put you back in. I said, Brian, I love basketball, man, but I can't go back out there. My head hurt. My nose hurt. I can't. I'm not going to be able to go back out there right now. And I was just sitting in the back, just like, and I just could hear the cheers and then hear then hear the cheers. And I'm like, this drives me crazy. But that moment was really bad, but it was all good.
Well, UAB was upset by Southern Miss in the second round of the Conference USA tournament. You guys made the NIT, and you got wins over Coastal Carolina and North Carolina State before playing North Carolina at home. What was that game like for you?
Carolina, man. People made that game, I think, bigger than what it was because it was Carolina. So, you know what I mean? Like we didn't care. We didn't care at that point. Because we felt like we had let our season slip away from us at that point. And the NIT was, for us, revenge. It was us being mad we didn't make the tournament. It was us being mad at ourselves because we let that season slip away. Like you said, we were on the 18. We started that year off 18-2, and then we let some games go in conference that we shouldn't have let go. And we have I can honestly say, like, we kind of fell apart that year as a team. We were, what really got us to 18-2 was the togetherness of that group. And we kind of fell apart from that. We kind of let egos and all this other stuff get in the front of what we were trying to accomplish. And by the time we got to the end, when we didn't make the tournament, watching that Selection Sunday, we didn't make it. And then they said, yeah, we got the second seed. That's when we knew, like, okay, they made a mistake by not putting us in, because they gave us the second seed. You know what I mean? My sophomore year, they gave us the seventh seed. My freshman year, they gave us the 5 seed. So us making the second seed, we knew that they was like, man, we probably made a mistake not letting them in. So we were just on revenge We were trying to get revenge, man. The first game going against Coastal Carolina, I don't know if the fans knew, they had a player on their team who was at UAB when school first started my junior year. He was at Coastal Carolina the year before, transferred to UAB, was at UAB the first week of school, and I guess we had played open gym the first week of school, and we were going at him because that year he had averaged like 15 and 7. He was like a name, kind of had like a name. So we were like, all right, we're gonna test him. You know, you coming from a lower division school, we're gonna test you and see how good you are. And this is just my personal opinion, but I think he got scared and like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna play here. These guys are pretty good. So he ended up going back to Coastal Carolina. So we playing them the first game. We all look at each other like, we about to embarrass him. For leaving, we gonna embarrass him. We gonna do that. So we took that out. That was a revenge game. North Carolina State come in. Oh, this is a high major club. They shouldn't even, to us, we felt like they shouldn't even have been in the NIT. That record wasn't good enough. We wanted to show them that, you know what I mean, they wasn't good enough to play against us either. And Eli had 27 and 15. And going into the North Carolina game, we felt like we were the superior team. You know, we felt like we were better. We thought we were better. They were bigger than us, but we thought we were just a better team. And they had a great game plan. I can give them that. Like, their game plan was really good, you know. And a few things made us mad about that game. Like, we remember when they came in for practice and everybody was like, was telling us that they hired security to watch them practice. We like, what? At our gym? No, we don't like that. You know what I mean? Like we took a lot of things personal on that team. And you know, they end up winning the game because we just had a bad game. That was just one of our rare occasions of having a bad game from everybody on the team. But yeah, it was just a lot of hype around that game. But you know, that was a fun game, really good game to play in.
So your senior season, UAB took a step forward. You started the season 10-2 with a highlight win at Arkansas and also a huge comeback win over VCU. UAB trailed by 19 in the second half and also by 9 with about a minute 49 left to go to come back and beat VCU. What was that game? What was that comeback like for you guys? And what was it like to get that win?
Man, you just gave me some information. I didn't know we were down 9 with a minute and how much time left?
A minute 49.
I didn't even know that. I definitely did not know that. That we needed that one. That was, to me, that's the reason why we made the tournament. That win, and of course some, you know, winning the conference. But I truly believe that beating them was the reason why we made the tournament that year, because you know, we knew that VCU was a great team, and we knew that they were going to do great in their conference. You know what I mean? So, and we knew that they always played a tough schedule and all this other stuff. So, you know what I mean? Here's a fun fact about that game. We played the entire first half with a women's ball. The entire first half with a women's ball. For people around the program, they know there's a guy named Vic who's been around the program for ages, you know what I mean? And he used to always give the game ball. So he gave the game ball and it was a women's ball. So I would say we got to probably 11-minute mark. And I grabbed the ball and I was like, ref, this is a women's ball. And I'm getting ready to throw the ball to the ref. And he was like, no, we can't change the ball. And I was like, oh man. So, and they were shooting our lights out at the time. So we played that whole first half with a women's ball, man. But you know, Coach Davis was just so mad at us during that game. And we were just like, all right, we just huddled up and like, look, we just about to do this, and this. And let's get close and let's see what happens. And credit to Tony Criswell. Tony Criswell was almost on the verge of getting off the team at the time, and he came in and gave a stellar performance, just energy and effort and rebound and defensive plays, getting tips at the ball and stuff like that to help us win that game, man. That was by far the best comeback game I done played in, for sure.
Not long after that, you had one of your best games as a Blazer in a 197 triple overtime winner against UTEP. In that game, you had 26 points, 14 assists, and 7 rebounds in 54 minutes played in that game. Was that game basically a payback for the broken nose?
I didn't even think about that when we played them. Like I forgot that I played against them and broke my nose. I was just the game had been getting a lot of hype. And credit to Aaron Jordan, who was our SID at the time. He and the UTEP SID, I guess, were like trying to make it really big because me and Randy Culpepper were like we had been going at it for years now, you know what I mean? And now we're seniors and he's coming off a player of the year before, and you know what I mean? So they really hyped up our matchup against each other. And I started that game off terrible. Coach Davis was on me heavy. If people watch some of my highlights from the first half, people would look at it and see like I would score and just still look mad, or I would get an assist and still be mad. And it was because Coach Davis was just on me that whole game. So I really wanted to prove to him that he didn't have to yell at me so much. And then just going against Randy, he brought out the best in me. You know what I mean? That triple overtime, man. People don't. A lot of people may forget. I didn't even play the last couple minutes of that game because I had severe, crazy cramps. Like my legs, my abs, my arms, like everything locked up. And for like, I would say like 2 minutes, I wasn't playing in the game. And Coach Dave was so nervous. He was so nervous. He kept telling me, "You ready to go back there?" I said, "I can't move, Coach. I can't move." But Quincy and Jamar fouled out of that game late in the game. Yeah, so I didn't even really think about it being a revenge game. I knew we were on national television, so I wanted to really have my best performance then. And then going against another person that I got mad respect for, Randy Culpepper, I wanted to really play my best too.
So UAB won the Conference USA regular season title with a 12-4 conference record. UAB's first outright conference title in about 21 seasons. What was that accomplishment like for you?
The biggest. When I first got to UAB, I heard when it came to guards, I heard point guards, I heard 3 names: Squeaky Johnson, Mo Finley, and Steve Mitchell. And one thing all them dudes had or was, they was considered winners. You know what I mean? Individually talented, of course, but winners more than anything. And for me, I wanted to be a winner. I wanted to go down as a winner, and I wanted my name to be mentioned with those people. That senior night was special, but the thing that was more special was the game before that at Southern Miss, beating Southern Miss in that game. After we won that game, we went back in the locker room and, we all was weeping tears because it was a special game for Coach Davis. Coach Davis had lost his mom, I think he had lost his mom at that point, or his mom was sick. So he was really emotional. So we were trying to do it big for him. And we were trying to be the first team to win the conference outright, So we knew Southern Miss was about to give us their all. And we came in ready to go, man. And Jamar gave us one of the best, second half performances of that Southern Miss game. So when we got to the senior night, it was easy, honestly. It was for the seniors. It was the last game in Bartow and for the conference championship. Who ain't gonna play their best game? Like, who ain't gonna play their best game? I think I had 11 points, 9 assists, no turnovers. Jamar had a great game. Cam had a great game. We wanted that title. You know what I mean? When we had felt like we worked for that. I know I personally felt like 3 years I put in the work to get this title. I deserved it. And I went out there and made sure that I got it.
Well, unfortunately, your highest scoring game came in an upset loss in the Conference USA tournament to East Carolina. You scored 39 points in an overtime loss. How frustrating was that loss?
Terribly frustrating, man. We had prepared so well, man. Like, we had did everything we were supposed to do. I got awards. Jamar got awards. Cam got awards. Coach Davis got awards. The team was known. We was getting national recognition. You know what I mean? And we let ourselves down. And that was the most disappointing thing, is that we let ourselves down. Like we didn't do this together. You know what I mean? And it was terrible. I remember at one point in that game, Coach Davis, I had like passed the ball to somebody and they missed the shot, and Coach Davis called me over. He said, look up at the scoreboard. Look how many points you got, and look at the next person. Why are you passing the ball? And he was like, if we're gonna win this game, you're gonna have to win this game from scoring. And I was just like, I ain't no scorer, Coach Davis. Like, this ain't what I do. But he just kept telling me to shoot. And I kept us in the game enough. It was just another time. It was just another one of those times where as a team, we had a bad game. You know what I mean? I might have had a good game individually, but as a team, it was a bad game, man.
Yeah.
It was a terrible, disappointing loss for us. We were ready to go to the NIT again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, UAB got an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament, and you played in the play-in game against Clemson. Sadly, the Blazers fell, but what was it like to see your career progress the way it did?
Satisfying, and more motivating for the rest of my career. I had watched an 18-year-old kid from the south side of Chicago at 5'7" come to a pretty good mid-major school and leave his mark. I didn't know anybody to do it like that. You know what I mean? That was the first time I saw that done from somebody from where I'm from, and go through the things that I went through in my childhood life. So it was satisfying, man. And just knowing what Coach Davis did for me, Coach Marsh did for me, Coach Wes Flanagan, Coach Dusty May, what those guys did for me, it was rewarding to see. It was rewarding to hear my name in the conversation as Steve Mitchell, Mo Finley, Squeaky Johnson at that point. You know what I mean? I had worked my butt off. If anybody know me, I rarely took time off during the summer. Coach Davis used to give us a choice to go home. I used to go home for a week. Sometimes I went home for a week and a half, and I came right back. I was consistently in the gym. You know what I mean? I met my college sweetheart, who's my wife now. Even took time away from her. You know what I mean? Just to be in the gym, to dedicate myself to it. So to see my career go the way it did, it was satisfying. I worked for it, man. That's one thing I want people to know, is I really worked for everything that I got at UAB during my 4 years, and it was rewarding and satisfying for me.
What were some of your favorite off the court memories with teammates while you were at UAB?
Man, that junior year, the junior year team, just always being together, us going to eat dinner together, to eat lunch together, to eat breakfast together. When one person went bowling, they called the other people. Like that. That's one of the highlight memories. And just building long relationships. Of course, rest in peace to my brother Cameron Moore. We met up in Italy and went out together and had fun together in Italy. You know what I mean? Jamar Sanders, I met up with him in Italy. Just building those relationships with these dudes who got similar stories like mine and come from the same type of environments like I did. That was some special moments and special times, and it just gave me long lasting brothers and relationships. And you know what I mean? That's one memory. What else? One of my fondest memories I got is after a game, did radio, and there were I would say 50, 60 kids at the game this game. I did the radio, and then one kid, hey, can you sign my poster? So I signed the poster, and I'm getting ready to walk off, and here come just a parade of them. Hey, AJ, sign my poster. So I end up sitting down in a chair And I told the security, just line them all up, and I'll sign all they posters. And I signed every kid's poster, man. That was one of the biggest memories. And then the summer camps, the camps, man. I really, if anybody know me and you ask about AJ at summer camp, everybody would say like AJ was into summer camps. Like I really enjoyed those camps, man. Getting to know little kids and making them feel good about who they were as a basketball player, man. It was rewarding, man. It was crazy because years later, some of them kids used to come to me like, man, AJ, I was 6 years old when I was at the camp, man, and you were great, man. You showed us so much love. And I was like, wow. That was you know what I mean? Like kids that's played high school ball like 3-4 years ago. Man, I used to look up to you when you was at UAB, man. And it's like, what? You're in high school now? Like you're a senior? Like it's so rewarding and it's like so fulfilling, man. So, those are some of the special moments that will always stay with me.
So, who were some of your greatest mentors from your basketball playing days?
My brother was my biggest. He the one who started me with basketball. I used to watch him out my window, of an apartment window that was probably I think 6 floors up. I used to watch him play outside on a crate, and that's when I really fell in love with the sport. Um, when I got to UAB, Steve Mitchell, I used to. That's why I thanked him in my retirement speech, because I used to really sit in his office when he worked at Bartow a lot and just talk to him about life, about basketball, about relationships, just everything. You know what I mean? He really is Uncle Steve for me, like for real. Like he really is. Who else? Mo Finley. Mo Finley was the reason why I was able to play professional basketball, because my agent was I got my agent from him. He was the one who put me in contact with his agent, and I built the relationship through him with the agent. So, and going against Mo in the summertime when he was still playing, it just made me a better basketball player. And then after playing, I would always sit down and talk with him, and he would just give me advice and give me a lot of game. Bill Braden, one of the founding fathers of basketball at UAB, man. He was our GA at UAB during the time, my freshman year, and he used to always tell me, man, don't lay down to these chumps, AJ. don't let them tell you what you can and can't do, man. You good enough, you could do it. You know what I mean? He was the first person to call me Little General. He gave me the name Little General. And yeah, man. Who else? That was pretty much it, man. Those were the guys that I really talked to on a day-to-day basis. But my brother was, he's the top guy that really started me with basketball.
I know this one's going to be a tough one, but if you could go back and change the result from one of your basketball games at UAB, which would it be?
That is a tough one. A lot of people would think my broken leg would just be the automatic go-to, but it's really tough, man. I would say it's a tie between the broken leg game and the nosebleed game. Breaking my nose that game. Those are the two games that I would probably go back and change, man. And I wouldn't even the nosebleed game or breaking my nose game. I would just go back and try to make myself more aware in that moment, just to slide out the way. You know what I mean? That's it. Just to slide out the way. Because if I play in that game, I wholeheartedly believe we don't lose. I believe we win that game. I believe our season never take a dip, and I believe we finish that season 14-2 in conference, 13-3 and win the conference, and then our momentum never shift. In basketball, if your momentum shift, that's hard. It's hard to get back up, and it's hard to get that momentum back. So when you riding high, you got to keep riding high. And of course, breaking my leg game, that would be the next one. And only thing I will want to change about that game is just going out of the game. After the game, Coach Davis said, "I didn't even know you broke your leg. I was getting ready to put you back in the game." He just and I loved him for that because he wanted me to play out my last game. We were down 19 points with 5 minutes and 45 seconds left in the game. And he in his mind, he like, I gotta let AJ play this out. Because he did everything for me. He deserved to be able to go out, you know, to the last second, with the last possible second. You know what I mean? So, and I love and respect him for that, man. But on another, I wish I would have jumped out the way. I would just jump out the way a little bit better because I really didn't even try to do anything when I broke my leg at that moment. I was just trying to get out the guy's way, but like swipe at the ball to make it seem like I was trying to make a play. And I would just get out the way different because I wanted to score 1,000 points really bad in that game, and I needed 14 before the game started. So
Man,
I would have been the first player in UAB history with 1,000 points and 600 assists. So, but yeah, man, those are probably the only two things I would change.
man. Well, you played overseas in many countries for several years. What was it like playing overseas?
It was great. Culture shocks. Every year is a different culture shock, man. I remember my first year. I'll give a story of my first year when I got to Italy. Um, I got off the plane. They took me to my apartment, and my apartment was made into an apartment because it used to be a garage. So, uh, like it had a shade that went up and down to like close off my front doors, and like it was unbelievable. So, like when I went into my apartment, I would put a key in the thing and let the shade down. so nobody can look in my window, in and out my window. I have to do that every day, leaving and coming in. But when I got there, it was about noon, 12:30, and I was like, okay, I don't want to sit in my apartment. I've been sitting on a plane. Let me go just take a walk and see what's around me and what I can do around me. I go outside and there's nobody outside. And I live on this little small street, so I have to go to the busy street, and that wasn't even that big either. But I walk up and down. I'm like, where is everybody? Like nobody's outside. So later on, I come and find out between 12 and 3, everyone goes home to eat lunch together with their families. And I was in the south of Italy. In the south of Italy, they're really big on the Italian culture, keeping the Italian culture from keeping it the same from way back in the day. So, you know what I mean? I couldn't believe it. Like it was like one store open. Everything else was like closed and people were at home eating. Um, yeah, it was just a culture shock, man. But I can honestly say it was some of the best. It was some of the best times of my life, man. Some of the guys, the local guys that was over there, they friends and families till still to this day. I get Merry Christmases and Happy Birthdays and checkups on from a lot of those dudes. So it was a culture shock every year, and it taught me how to adapt every year. You know what I mean? It taught me being able to adapt because I'm a guy who really likes comfort and I don't really like changing that much. And overseas, you got to be ready to change all the time. And, that taught me some things like that. And the basketball was totally different too.
A few more questions, but how's life now? I know you just welcomed a new baby into the family.
Yeah,
So and for those listening, AJ in true hardworking man fashion, he is doing this episode from the hospital room.
from the hospital.
So
Yeah.
how is the baby and how is mom and how is life overall, man?
Man, my little boy, my baby boy, man, Amir Johnson, he's doing great, man. Little man is tough. He came out the womb, didn't even cry. He, they tapped his butt. He cried and just for 5 seconds, and he's been tough since he came out, man. Just a tough kid already. My wife is doing great, man. The recovery is going great, man. She's up, moving around, getting her legs back under her. And my baby boy, man, he's doing really good, man. Life for me is great. I mean, it's a transition. I'm trying to get into coaching. So after graduating from UAB with my master's, being a GA, I decided to stay in Birmingham. I didn't want to up and take my wife and my soon to be here son today and my two kids and move them around the country chasing, college basketball. Because anybody who knows college basketball, you got to be ready to move all the time. So I didn't want to do that. So I took a PE job at I3 Academy Charter School. So I'm doing PE over there and working players out on the side. I've been working with Ron G. Gordon for 2 years now. I work with Jasmine Gracie on the women's team. Both of them gonna be stars, I think. And I coached a little AAU team, Pro One. So they were sixth graders this past summer. We won like 3 championships. I'm gonna just pat myself on the back now. But yeah, man, I'm just trying to keep my foot in the game and keep myself around basketball, man. Anybody who knows me knows how passionate and how much I love basketball. And ever since I retired, I really told myself that I wanted to give the knowledge in the game and all the lessons that I learned. I want to pass that down to the next generation. So, I want to be the next best coach, man. My plan is one day to be coaching UAB, man. That's my ultimate plan. So, yeah, man, just trying to get into coaching now.
That'd be awesome. But I understand another way of, you kind of keeping yourself in the game is you have a podcast.
Yeah.
You have a podcast. I've seen a couple of your episodes. Tell my listeners about it.
Yeah, man. Everybody, General Thoughts podcast live on Instagram. I do it right there live. You can comment, you can send questions. If you send a question, it's a good one, I'll definitely ask it during the podcast. I came up with the idea of doing a podcast. I have been thinking about it for like 3 years, man. Anybody, Rob Williams, who's of course my family, my brother from UAB, I used to talk to him about it all the time. And I was watching another friend of mine, brother of mine, Fred Underwood. He does a podcast live on Instagram too called Powerhouse Conversations, where he talked to entrepreneurs and people who business owners, agents, photographers, just any type of business owner and entrepreneur, small business owners and entrepreneurs. And I was watching that and I said, man, I can do that in a sports way. I can do that with sports, you know what I mean? And he inspired me, man. And as soon as I finished watching his, I called him like, how do I do this? And, what do I need to do? And he was like, man, don't overthink it. Just do it. Here's a website where you can make your own graphics. And if anybody who know, I make my own graphics. All the graphics you see, I make them. All the editing you see, I do it. What else? The coming up with the way I say things, the questions, all the research, I do all that myself, man.
Mm-hmm.
I have my little brother who's like my behind the scenes producer. Really, he gives me ideas, and then my guy Fred also is like a producer for my show. He gives me ideas, man. But I wanted to do something to highlight guys that play overseas. That was the biggest thing, was guys that play overseas. And I'm also trying to not just highlight basketball players either. I keep telling my guy Carl, who used to play soccer at UAB, he was a goalie at UAB. I keep telling him that I'm gonna get him on, man, but I keep forgetting to do it. But Carl knows that's my guy, man. But I just wanted to highlight people that were successful people who didn't make it big, but they made a life for themselves, and they were successful. You know what I mean? The little big guys. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to shine, to give them a platform to talk about their experiences, what they've been through, how they got started. I always feel like the backstory is just as good as the end story. And I like to know the backstory of people, where they come from. How long they've been playing, when did they start, what was life like in the process of going through it. And my guy Fred, he inspired me to do it, man. So everybody, my Instagram, AJTHEFUTURE, the number one, AJ the Future on Instagram. I've been doing it every Sunday. During the summer, I try to change it to Tuesdays. I try to do a pick a boring day where people would, just be chilling to watch it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, tune in. I got a guest coming on this week, former basketball player. She played at LSU. I try to highlight women too, man. I had my wife on. I had Brittany Jones, former UAB player on, man. So, I'm just trying to put out some dope stories that people, that people need to hear. And once people hear these stories and hear these people and their struggles and their successes, they might follow them one day and hopefully something big can happen for them, man. So, my podcast is all about inspiring the next dreamer. Me and my little brother, we came up with the quote, inspire the next dreamer. And that's all we want to do, man, give inspiration to anybody who got a dream. So, it's not just for sports people. Anybody can, it might spark something in anybody. I may say something that's good that somebody go, man, that just gave me the battery. You know what I mean? That put the battery in my back, So, I'm all about inspiring and giving inspiration now. So General Thoughts Podcast, go check it out on my Instagram. If you listen for 5 minutes or 2 hours, I'm appreciative, man. If you share, thank you. You know what I mean? If you've been listening, thank you for listening. Thank you, Will, for listening. You know what I mean? So I think it's really good, man. I think it's gonna be big one day.
I do have a couple more questions for you, and then I'm gonna let you go and get back to your family and everything. My social media questions. Well, it comes from Steve Rutherford. He asked 2 questions. He asked, what was your favorite part about being a grad assistant? And was the teardrop shot over Hassan Whiteside to win the game against Marshall one of your favorite moments?
Big. I forgot about that moment. Big moment. First question, being a GA was great, man. I never thought I would do that. When I graduated undergrad, I never thought I would go back to school again. But Eson first presented that to me 2 years before I retired, because I had been telling him, like, I think I'm gonna give it up. And he was like, man, you want to come be a GA? And I was like, I don't think I'm ready right now. And I don't think I want to go back to school. So you're gonna have to find something different. But once I retired, I just went to him and I was like, man, this is an opportunity for me to get my foot in the game. And, I love to do it. And being a GA, when you play basketball, when you play the sport and was good at it and people admire that, it makes it a lot easier to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I was able to really get in the heads of the guys and learn, what they thought and how they operate. And they asked me questions in game, outside of the game, off the court stuff, man. That was the biggest thing. I was really a coach, you know what I mean? And that was one thing that was great about being a GA. And then just building relationship with younger guys, man. Things are so different now, you know what I mean? So to come back and see the difference in how dudes operate, you know what I mean? And then just explaining to them the work that goes into this. Right? This ain't something that just comes to you, man. Robert Vaden said something really, really, really important. He said, when you work hard, you might not get what you want, but you're going to get what you deserve. And that was a huge, huge quote, man. And I think people should really, really take into, and that's something that I try to get the young guys to understand. And that shot against Whiteside, man, I still can't believe that happened. Like, when I went in there, I saw him, I said, I'm gonna just throw my shoulder into his chest and move him back. And sure enough, he didn't even try to, like, what was crazy about that shot was he didn't really like try to block it. He was just like standing there. Usually he would like go for the block, and he was just standing there. So he gave me the opportunity to really move him back so I can, maneuver and lay it in. But I just remember that crowd going silent, and I just pointed to my heart like, yeah, I got a big heart. I got a big heart. So yeah, that was a huge, huge moment.
My last question for you. It's a lighthearted question, something I ask all my guests just to kind of keep you on your toes. What's one quirky thing that we don't know about Aaron Johnson? A hobby, a favorite food that maybe nobody likes, a skill that we don't know. What's something we don't know about Aaron Johnson?
A skill that people don't know is I don't have any. It's basketball or nothing for me. So that was out. I love R&B. I hate. I ain't gonna say I hate. I like listening to hip hop music, but only when I'm trying to when I'm working out
Mm-hmm.
or when I'm training, stuff like that. But R&B, I would listen to R&B music all day. Like I am a cool, mellow. I love to just sing out loud, even though I know I can't sing at all. You know what I mean? Like R&B music is the best thing to me, and I listen to that all day, every day. Something quirky. I'm kind of I'm kind of like a everything has to be in the like everything has to be in the right spots for me. Like
Yeah.
at home, like I got spots for everything. And if I go somewhere and it's not right there, I'll be, oh my God, it make me so mad, man. It make me so mad. Like I give my wife when they come to remote controls, when I was growing up, our remote controls used to always lose the backs when I was a kid. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I grew up with 11 brothers and sisters. So having a TV, controlling the TV was a hard thing to get. You know what I mean? Like, I'm watching what I'm watching, but as soon as you leave, somebody else gonna turn that channel. So when it comes to the remote controls and losing the backs, oh my God, it irritates me, man. Oh man, I'll be so mad. I'll be like, why you let the kids lose the backs? No, I can't watch TV and knowing the TV still works. You know what I mean? So those are two things that I think are really quirky and crazy about me.
Well, man, hey, Aaron, I really appreciate it, man. It was a lot of great information. You obviously you had some huge moments in UAB basketball history, some big shots, played alongside a lot of great players. It was a thrill to get to know you better. So thank you so much for your time. Again, listeners, listen to his podcast, General Thoughts Podcast. I'll drop a link for it and everything on my social pages as well. But thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get back to your baby and
Thank you, man.
and the mama and the family and everything. So congratulations again, and thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Will, appreciate y'all, man. Blazers for life.
Yes, sir. Go Blazers. All right. I want to thank Aaron for all he has done as a Blazer and joining me in the episode. Be sure to check out his podcast and give it a listen. But before I go, I've got another This Week in Blazer history for you. This will be covering birthdays and notable sports events from December 27th to January 9th. All stories, birthdays, and game recaps are gathered by longtime Blazer fan Steve Rutherford. Starting off with December 27th, just covering the records for men's and women's basketball, along with stories and birthdays. The men's basketball team is 7-6 on December 27th. A fun fact, the women's basketball team has actually never played on December 27th. But two notable games on This Week in Blazer history. In 1985, UAB defeated TCU 69-62 in the UNLV Holiday Classic in Las Vegas. The 11-1 Blazers were ranked 14th in the nation. James Ponder's 5 free throws in the final 57 seconds secured the win for the Blazers. The point guard for TCU was Jamie Dixon, current head coach at TCU. And also on December 27th, another notable game. In 2010, UAB defeated George Washington 79-44 at Bartow Arena. My guest for the podcast this week, Aaron Johnson, had 12 assists and became the first Blazer to record 5 double-digit assists in a season. Jamar Sanders also led the Blazers in scoring with 23 points. On to December 28th, the men's basketball team is 13-7 on this date, and the women's basketball team is 3-1. 3 notable games on this date. In 1981, UAB played Michigan in the consolation game of the Winston Tire Classic in Los Angeles, California. UAB had lost in the first round to Missouri, and Michigan had lost to Southern Cal. UAB was ranked 19th and trying to stay in the polls. UAB shot poorly in the first half, but was only down 1 at halftime. However, in the first 10 minutes of the second half, UAB shot 92% and jumped out to a 13-point lead. Michigan would not go away and tied the game late. However, UAB managed to win the game 73-72. Oliver Robinson had 24 points. Another notable game in 1987, UAB played California in the Sun Bowl Classic in El Paso, Texas. UAB won 64-50. This game set a record for the fewest points by an opponent in the half. The halftime score was 32-8. Cal went over 15 minutes without a field goal in the first half. And the last notable game from this date, in 2005, Marvette McDonald scored 27 points as UAB beat Oklahoma State in Bartow Arena 90-71. UAB never trailed and led by as much as 28. This was great for the almost sellout crowd of 8,289 fans. On to December 29th, the men's basketball team is 14-4 on this date. The women's basketball team is 9-6. We have one notable birthday. Born in 1990, former UAB men's basketball guard Ja'Cory Tyler. Tyler played for the men's basketball team in the early 2010s. On to December 30th, the men's basketball team is 12-6 on this date. The women's basketball team is 18-3. A couple of notable games on this date. In 1986, UAB played Middle Tennessee in a very exciting championship game of the UAB Classic. This game was not supposed to happen. The championship game was supposed to be UAB versus a very good Michigan team. Michigan had gone 28-5 the previous year and was 7-2 coming into Birmingham. This matchup was so expected that ESPN was nationally televising the game with Dick Vitale there to call the game. UAB did its part to get to the championship by beating Alaska Anchorage, but Middle Tennessee spoiled the intended matchup by upsetting Michigan. Still, the game did not disappoint at all. UAB led most of the game, but Middle Tennessee kept hitting threes to stay close. UAB had a 6-point lead with 1:54 to go, but a 3 and then a 2 off a turnover cut the lead to 1. UAB pushed the lead to 3, but another Blue Raider three-pointer with 13 seconds left sent the game to overtime. James Ponder took over in overtime, scoring 12 of the first 14 points. Still, the threes reigned for MTSU. From the final 142 of regulation until the end of the game, they hit 5 of 6 three-pointers. The game came down to a 2-point UAB lead with 3 seconds to go, and UAB freshman Barry Bearden at the line. Vitale was going crazy on the air. Coach Bartow sent the rest of the team to the other end of the floor to avoid a foul on the rebound. Bearden missed the first. In a good news, bad news scenario, he missed the second free throw so badly it bounced straight off the rim right back into his hands. Game over. UAB wins 93-91. UAB player Eddie Collins had 27 points and Ponder had 25. And the second notable game, in 1988, Gene Bartow became the 25th coach to ever win 500 games in an 84-56 victory over Tennessee State in the Coca-Cola Classic in Chattanooga. He almost missed it. He got a technical foul in the first half for arguing a call, and another technical was assessed in the second, but it must have been against the bench because Bartow was not ejected. Also, side note, congratulations to the men's and women's basketball teams for beating UTEP on Thursday night, December 30th, and getting off to a 1-0 start in conference play. On to December 31st, the men's team is 3-0 on this date. The women's team is 3-1, and there's one notable birthday on this date. Born in 1990, Jordan Swing, a former guard for the men's basketball team. He played for UAB from 2011 to 2014 and averaged 10.4 points a game in his career. On to January 1st, the men's team is 0-1 all time, and the women's team is 1-2. Hopefully, both teams can get to a better record as both teams face UTSA this weekend. The women's team is on the road. The men's team is at home. One notable birthday, born in 1999, former UAB softball outfielder Destiny England. Happy birthday, Destiny. On to January 2nd, the men's basketball team is 9-4 on this date. The women's basketball team is 6-7. A few notable events. In 1995, Watson Brown became the new head football coach for UAB. Watson coached at UAB for 12 years from 1995 to 2006. Two notable games on January 2nd. In 2006, Squeaky Johnson scored 16 points, including 4 free throws in the final 17 seconds as UAB defeated VCU 68-62. The win was costly, though. Demario Edens was having a spectacular senior season when he went down 6:27 left to play, and UAB was up by 4. He had a torn Achilles tendon, and his career at UAB was prematurely over. And in 2010, after losing to Virginia 2 days earlier, number 24 ranked UAB headed to Fayetteville, Arkansas for a noon tip-off against Arkansas. Arkansas led 25-24 halfway through the first half, but UAB went on a 15-2 run to take the lead on a Jamar Sanders three-pointer. UAB led 39-31 at half. The game was back and forth in the second half, and Arkansas led by 5 with 2 minutes left to go in the game. UAB cut it to 1, and Arkansas missed a shot, giving UAB the ball back with 2.2 seconds left to go on the clock. Timeout was called, and Coach Mike Davis set up a fantastic play. Howard Crawford rolled off the pick at the top of the key and found himself wide open in the lane. Jamar Sanders fed the inbounds pass to him and dunked the ball with 1 second to go on the clock, giving the Blazers a memorable 73-72 win. On to January 3rd, the men's basketball team is 14-3. The women's team is 5-7 on this date. One notable birthday, born in 1997, former UAB guard Luis Hurtado. He played for the Blazers for 2 seasons before transferring to Bryant. And sadly, on this date in 2012, we lost legendary coach and athletic director Gene Bartow. Bartow as the athletic director at UAB from 1977 to 2000. In his coaching career, he compiled 647 wins. He also accomplished 2 Missouri Valley regular season championships, 2 Pac-8 regular season championships, 3 Sun Belt regular season championships, and 4 Sun Belt tournament championships. He was the 3-time Sun Belt Coach of the Year. He is in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame and the College Basketball Hall of Fame as well. Rest in peace, Coach Bartow. A couple of notable events on January 3rd. 1988, UAB defeated Chattanooga in the championship game of the UAB Classic. Michael Charles had a career-high 30 points for UAB, hitting 11 of 13 field goals. A couple of more events on January 3rd. 1994, a 10-1 UAB hosted number 25 Western Kentucky in the last non-conference game of the year. UAB was just outside the top 25 at number 26. The Blazers won 62-51. Robert Shannon led with 19 points. In 1995, in one of the costliest games in UAB history, the Blazers defeated Alabama State 102-95 in 3 overtimes. The 3 overtime victory is usually considered thrilling, but Blazer fans were sick after this game, partly because it came against an inferior SWAC team, but mainly because Carlos Williams was lost for the season in this game. With 11:29 left in the first half, Williams went up for an uncontested dunk and came down wrong, injuring his knee. He was finished for the season. He was averaging 18.6 points per game. Neither team seemed to want to win. In overtime periods, UAB was 9 of 21 from the free throw line, and Alabama State was 6 of 16. Finally, 3-pointers by Deshaunte Foreman and Leonard Bush in the third overtime put the Hornets away. With the loss of Carlos, UAB would lose 10 of the next 16 games and finish the season 14-16, giving the Blazers their first losing season and Coach Bartow's first losing season in 20 years, dating back to his 8-18 season at Illinois. And finally, in 2004, in the 800th game in UAB's history, the Blazers defeated South Alabama 90-75. On to January 4th, the men's basketball team is 6-4 on the state. The women's basketball team is 5-5. One notable game, 1982, UAB defeated Jacksonville 82-62 at home. The shot of the night belonged not to a player, but a mascot. Frank Sutherland, the original Beauregard T. Rooster, hit a half-court shot at halftime. He made the shot with his back to the basket. Beauregard T. Rooster had been attempting this shot at halftime every game for 3 years. On this night, he hit it. On to January 5th, men's basketball team is 10-6 on the state. The women's basketball team is 9-5. A few notable games on the state. In 1985, UAB got its first win over DePaul, 66-59. The Blazers and DePaul had played every year since the program's inception, and DePaul had usually been a top 10 team. From 1979 to 1985, DePaul was the winningest team in the country with a 159-18 record. UAB had never been able to beat them. In this season, the Blue Demons were ranked 10th in the country. A BJCC crowd of 17,222 cheered the Blazers to victory. Steve Mitchell led the Blazers with 18 points. A couple more notable games. In 2005, the Blazers were down at home to Southern Miss 45-36, but Donnell Taylor, who would score 27 points in the game, sparked the Blazers to an 83-75 come-from-behind win. Taylor had 6 steals, 5 assists, and 7 rebounds. And in 2017, the Blazers won at North Texas 54-52. The Blazers were down 1 when William Lee drove to the basket with 5.9 seconds left. He converted the basket and was fouled. The made free throw gave the Blazers the 2-point win. On to January 6th, the men's basketball team is 7-1 on the state. The women's basketball team is 4-6. One notable birthday, Anthony Thomas. Thomas played for the Blazers from 1994 to 1996. With the injury of Carlos Williams, Thomas stepped in a big way. He made the All-Great Midwest newcomer team in his first year, averaging 14.1 points per game and 7 rebounds per game. 2 notable games on January 6th. In 1990, in a key early season conference game, UAB played the preseason conference champion pick Old Dominion in Norfolk. The Blazers started extremely slow and were down 32-15 after the first 10 minutes. However, over a span of only 3 minutes, the Blazers wiped out the huge deficit with a 15-0 run. Barry Bearden hit 3 trays, and George Wilkerson had 5 steals in the 15-0 run. Jack Kramer hit 2 free throws and then stole a pass in the final seconds to give UAB the 64-61 comeback win. Alan Ogg was the leading scorer with 15 points. And in 1996, on this date, UAB won their first ever Conference USA game, beating Tulane 71-70. With seconds left on the clock, UAB down 1, Cedric Dixon hit a long 2 to give the Blazers the victory. And on January 7th, the men's basketball team is 8-4 on this date. The women's basketball team is 5-6. One notable birthday, born in 1997, Maktar Gay, a recent forward many of us remember from the men's basketball team. A couple of notable games on this date as well. In 1998, UAB defeated number 20 Marquette at Marquette 65-52. Marquette was undefeated 10-0 heading into the game. Cedric Dixon hit 5 3-pointers in the second half, scoring 21 in the game. And in 2004, UAB opened the conference season at East Carolina. UAB led the entire game, but the Pirates made it close at the end. With 1:41 left and the game tied, Squeaky Johnson, in his third career start, stole the ball, and Donnell Taylor found Mo Finley for a driving layup that put UAB up to stay. Squeaky Johnson had 12 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals with no turnovers in the 71-68 win. On to January 8th, the men's basketball team is 8-3 on this day, and the women's basketball team is 7-6. A couple of notable birthdays. Dylan Howard. Dylan played for the men's basketball team from 1985 to 1989. Howard came to UAB from Fort Wayne, Indiana, where he had a stellar high school career. In 2010, he was named to the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame Silver University team. At UAB, he was a defensive specialist, playing in 113 games and starting 53. He is now an associate head coach at Morehead State. And also born on January 8th in 1996, Lee Dufour, former UAB football center and guest on the podcast. Happy birthday, Lee. And on January 8th, a couple of notable games. In 1990, UAB traveled to Tampa to play South Florida, playing their third game in 5 days. Alan Ogg was playing great. In the past 3 games, he had shot 12 for 12, 8 for 10, and 7 for 11. The South Florida students wore Alan Ogg masks, jeering him on relentlessly throughout the game. Quote, "I made some friends," he said after the game. "I waved goodbye as a winner." He had 14 points on 5 of 8 shooting as UAB won 83-66. And in 2011, in one of the most exciting games in Bartow Arena history, it's a game that we just talked about on the podcast, UAB beat UTEP 100-97 in triple overtime. Cameron Moore hit a 3-pointer with 2 seconds left to go in the third overtime to avoid a fourth overtime. Moore had 29 points and 14 rebounds. Aaron Johnson had 26 points and 14 assists, tying the record for most assists in a game. Johnson was leading the nation in assists after the game. The game featured 11 lead changes and 13 ties. UTEP kept extending the game with long-range bombs at the end of regulation and overtime. And on to the last date, January 9th, the men's basketball team is 8-3 on this day, and the women's basketball team is 3-6. One notable birthday, born in 1958, Stan Scales, one of the original Blazers. Scales was on UAB's first 2 teams. He is remembered mainly as the player who scored UAB's first basketball points in the inaugural game against Nebraska. In his UAB career, he played 54 games, averaging 4 points a game. And a few games on this date to remember. In 1982, UAB defeated South Alabama 78-59. The quote of the day comes from Gene Bartow speaking about the 1981-1982 team that would ultimately advance to the Elite Eight. Quote, "This team is hard to coach. When you have 6 seniors with a dream, it's tough." And in 1986, number 14 ranked UAB defeated VCU 72-70 in overtime. The Blazers scored the first 7 points in overtime, but tried to give it away, missing 3 front ends of the 1-and-1s in the final 37 seconds. VCU, however, was unable to take advantage of UAB's generosity. In 1993, the Blazers opened the Great Midwest Conference play at home versus Marquette. This game marked the debut of a new Blazer mascot. Beauregard T. Rooster had been retired the previous season, and UAB had been without a mascot for the first 8 home games. Making his debut was the Blazer Warrior, nicknamed Blaze. Many of us also might know him as the Viking. UAB was coming off of a 4-game road swing in which they had gone 0-4. The team was excited to be back at Bartow Arena, where they were undefeated that season. Robert Shannon had told the Post-Herald that Marquette was in trouble. Never a smart move. Apparently, Marquette coach Kevin O'Neill used the Post-Herald headline and quote from Shannon as motivation. The article was found in the visiting locker room, pinned on the dry erase board after the game, along with a burned Bartow Bleacher Creature t-shirt. The motivation worked because Marquette handed UAB its 5th straight loss, 80-66. The loss marked the longest losing streak in UAB history to that point. In 1994, the 10-1 Blazers traveled to Cincinnati to take on the 17th-ranked Bearcats, who had a 25-game home win streak. Coach Bartow hoped the win would put UAB in the top 25. UAB had the 5th best scoring defense in the country, giving up only 58.2 points per game. Led by Robert Shannon's 24 points, UAB upset Cincinnati 67-65 and found themselves ranked number 22 in the next AP poll. And one more game to remember on this date. In 2008, UAB traveled to Tulane and played a very close game against the Green Wave. The game had 13 ties and 15 lead changes. The game came down to a 57-57 tie, and Reggie Huffman put UAB up with a short jumper. Tulane answered with a three-pointer, and UAB was down 2 with 23 seconds to go. UAB turned the ball over on the next possession, and Tulane hit one of 2 free throws with just seconds left. Ed Barrios for UAB took a desperation 3 with 1.6 seconds left to go and missed. However, he was fouled and awarded 3 free throws. Barrios hit all 3 shots, and UAB won 62-61. And that's going to do it for this week in Blazer history and episode 31 of the Dragon's Den. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out my social pages at Dragon's Den EFEL on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, be sure to check out AJ's podcast, the General Thoughts Podcast, and I will see you for episode 32 of the Dragon's Den coming soon. Happy New Year, Blazer Nation. Good night, and go Blazers.